Hey everybody, we are here for our Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Kristen.
I'm Tiffany.
And we work for USU Brigham City and Tremonton.
Okay, here we are at Bella's in Far West, and here is our waitress, Masha.
Hello.
Okay, all right, Masha, what are your most popular dishes here?
Well, we have a lot, but we have the Mama's Chicken Enchiladas is one of the most famous, but people do love their specialty tacos, which are street tacos. We have the carne asada tacos, the fish tacos, the carnitas tacos, and then our lunch specials, people really do love like the carnitas or the carne asada, and so, the chili verde. So there's a lot to the menu, but the tacos truly are one of the favorites. So if you're talking about it, tacos, there you go.
So what are your favorite tacos?
Oh, carne asada, that's my favorite meat for sure. So I'll take that any day in a burrito, in a taco, and just the meat itself, it's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully you caught our video last week. We introduced ourselves and we talked a little bit about our previous college experiences. And I hope that you found some things that were helpful, some things that maybe you can relate to. And we would love extra feedback if you have any other things that maybe might be preventing you from going to college or going back to school, or maybe things that you wish you could have done differently. Please send us a message via Facebook, or you can comment on this video, and we would love to be able to address some of your questions and concerns.
Yeah, or if you have like any funny college like stories to share.
Oh yes, we want to hear those as well.
Yeah.
We really do. We would love to share them.
So that should be half of the fun, is the fun of college. Yeah.
And you may get lucky and we may invite you out to lunch with us.
Yeah. Okay, so our guest today is actually one of the people that I admire the most, because I've just known her for about 20 years and I've watched her go through career changes and through the whole college experience, and it's really motivated me. And so this is Toni Mund, and she is actually a graduate from USU Brigham City, which makes it even better. And so I'll just let you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
Okay, well, I'm here because you asked me to
Well, yeah.
and I would just be happy to do anything you asked me to do, Tiff.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, I'm a graduate from Utah State University. I graduated in 2007 with a degree in sociology and political science and a minor in business. And so a little bit of an eclectic degree there that is, I think, just kind of an indication of my experience of going to school. And I'll talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. But yeah, so I went to Bear River High School and would have graduated in 1985.
Or 2000, either one.
2085. You really do start forgetting how old you are the older you get.
I know. I was thinking about how long I'd known you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, more than 20 years.
Yeah. I'm at the age where I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot how old I am this year.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to start doing the math.
What year was I born? Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I worked at Maddox Ranch House for 18 years as a food server, and I really, actually looking back on that experience, it was so important for me to have had that experience working in the food service industry and learning how to communicate and deal with people.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so when I first started waiting tables at Maddox, I don't think that I could look somebody in the eye and have a conversation with them. And as you guys know, it's like food servers rely on their ability to make a connection, a quick connection with their customer, and make eye contact and be friendly and have conversations with people. And so that's a competency that I actually built over time, learning how to wait tables and customer service and making a living by being able to provide that customer service. But
plus
anyway,
you have to have that balance between, you're not the annoying waitress where you're like every 10 seconds, do you need a drink? Do you need something? But also, like, there's nothing worse than just having a waitress or a waiter that you're like, okay, I'm so sorry that you have to be here today and bring me food, but
Yeah, I mean, I did learn a lot through trial and error. on
Yeah,
how
I'm
to-
sure.
the dynamics of dealing with people and working with people. But anyway, it was a wonderful career for me, and I do consider it a career, waiting tables, and
Yeah.
I think it's an admirable one, and one that I really appreciated having. But again, 18 years of waiting tables, and so one of the things that always was a seed in the back of my mind is that someday I want to be college educated. And I really got that narrative from my mother. My mother didn't even have a high school diploma.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, so I saw her kind of struggle trying to find a career and work that would fit, and really, just limited opportunities because of her lack of education. Now, that doesn't mean that my mother wasn't an educated woman. She was actually an avid reader, and she was intelligent. She just didn't never have that formal education, but she did often send that message to me, that an education is one of the things that will provide you opportunity and open doors for you. So in the back of my mind, as I was waiting tables, I always had this idea, this aspiration to be college educated.
So, was there a specific moment or something that happened that made you think, okay, this is my time, I want to come back?
Yeah. So I did I talk about River State already? Okay. So things had calmed down in my personal life, and I had decided, well, I'm going to learn how to type. I didn't know how to type. And this was back before email or anything like that. So I went, and my husband had brought me home a computer program that would teach me how to type. So I first started learning how to type on my own personal computer at home. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go and get just a technical degree from BATC. So I enrolled in their administrative assistant program and went through that program. Yeah. And I had a really great experience with the instructor in that program. Her name was Toni Adams, and she gave me a lot of really positive feedback that I never had really received, I guess, in just my capacity to learn and to grow, the way I showed up at class every day. She was just really affirming and positive, and so that was a great experience for me. But it was in that classroom, I remember one day thinking, I can do more than this.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can do more than this. And Brigham City USU campus was just starting, and that old Fred Meyer building.
Yes.
And so I knew that campus was just a few doors down. And I remember going in and talking to one of the counselors, and just this idea in my mind was like, this is the time. Now is the time for me to go back to school. And so I remember going on my lunch break a couple of times and talking to a counselor at USU, and that's when I really started and got really serious about going back to school and getting my bachelor's degree.
Can I just rewind back to you bought a program to teach you to type?
Yes.
Well, a lot of, like, even myself, we take that for granted because I got that in elementary school. They had classes for typing or to teach you how to type. And so, like, you really had to, you were very motivated. You had to be very motivated.
I was. It's like, in my mind, I just thought if I could just learn how to type, I'm sure that, it would open up a lot of opportunities for me to get a secretarial job, something different than waiting tables. And so that was the little crack in the door that I opened for myself. And then, another experience I had is there was some pre-testing for the program at BATC, and I needed to take some math competency test.
It's a hard word.
It is.
It's two hard words.
And in my mind, I'd always thought, well, I'm not good at math. I'm not, they're going to place me at the bottom of the barrel. The very beginner classes. I'm going to have to learn how to add and subtract again. Anyway, I took those competency classes, and I did a lot better than I thought I would. And so, that was just another kind of rung in the ladder to build my confidence, my confidence in myself, to even believe that, 2 doors down, there's a university college degree that I can earn, I'm going to go look into that.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, it's
Okay.
bringing back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Good memories.
Well, what year was it? What year did you go back to college?
It would have been 2002. 2002.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd been graduated from high school for like 15 years ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good.
And I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but my experience as a high school student was pretty sketchy. Like, I really had this paradigm in my mind that it's like I was not a good learner in high school. I don't remember ever really doing any math work in high school. I don't remember ever really writing papers. It's just my perception of my academic self was really low bar. So,
Do you find that because your mother hadn't graduated or she hadn't gotten her diploma, that maybe you saw it as kind of out of your reach, where you hadn't thought about? I know there's a lot of kids out there who don't even think about college because they think, oh, well, I can't ever afford it, or my family didn't go, my parents didn't go, so
yeah.
I'm not going to go. It just seems unobtainable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really good for us to remember that there's a lot of people that grow up in homes where obtaining a college degree is just a given. It's like it's just expected. It's talked about in the home. It's just assumed that that's going to happen. So you already that person is already identifying as a college graduate way before they ever even go to school. And then, much like myself, while thank you, while my mother.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, ladies. Anything else I can grab for you?
Oh, it looks wonderful. Thanks.
Awesome. Enjoy that.
While my mother planted that seed, it was more of a, wouldn't it be nice? Or you really, it was more like, this would be nice if you could do this, but it was never really solidified that that's who I would become someday. That would be part of my identity I'm a college graduate.
Yeah.
So I talked a minute ago about that cognitive dissonance, and that was something I really was experiencing all the way through getting my math or my bachelor's degree. Is this identity of who I was and what I had done so far, and the evidence that I had for what I created in my life so far, and then this imagination that I had of becoming college educated and the doors that would open. And there's kind of a river of misery that you pass through when you're trying to resolve those two identities. And so I was really grappling with that the entire time I was going through my 4-year degree.
Really?
So yeah, so
Hey,
not
that's so
only,
good to know.
Yeah, not only it is, and I wish I would have known what I was experiencing because I personalized it so much. I was like, oh, it's just this is so hard. There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But-
like you don't make the decision and then it's like, oh, I made this decision to go to college and I passed this math class and I have a little confidence, so now it's going to be easy. It's like you were challenged the whole entire time.
Yeah, I mean, the very core of my my identity was being challenged, and I'm also being challenged in the classroom.
Yeah.
In academia,
man.
and so I think it's really important for students to know that 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 cognitive dissonance is a very real thing, and if you're aware of it, then you can stop and go, oh, I understand what's happening here, and it's less of a double whammy.
Yeah.
Well, and to know you're not the only one feeling that.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and this is exactly why I wanted you to be on this, is because, like you said, you got that confidence with typing, and then what was the second thing? The
math competency classes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those things gave you confidence,
Yeah.
But like for somebody who's thinking about going to college that is lacking in that too, they might not have those experiences, but they'll hear you talk about how you did, and then they'll hopefully that's our goal, is that people can realize, like, anyone can do this. We have the resources, and so
We
just
have
you talking
tutors.
about it is, I really appreciate like you
Yeah.
really sharing like how it was hard.
Right. I mean, if I could tell anybody anything that would help them is just know that wherever you start, um, try to go into it with an open, malleable mindset, not a fixed mindset that this is who I am and I can never do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, I have an open mindset. I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to continue to put the work in and evolve to that imagined self that I have, or whatever goal that you have.
No,
So,
that's so good. Okay, so I know you've mentioned to me before how you had an idea in your mind that you wanted to work in HR.
yeah.
Talk about that for a second.
Well, I started at USU thinking that I would go to school and be a school teacher. That's what I
Really?
Yeah, I thought
I
I
didn't
would.
know that.
Yeah, I wanted to be a school teacher, and so I have a sister-in-law that's a school teacher, and I know other people that are a school teacher, and I still love teaching. I do a little bit of teaching in my my profession right now, but that's what I started out doing. And then one day I was working with somebody that I admired, and she just planted the seed in my mind that she's really good in human resources. And I was like, well, what's human resources? And she said, well, you just hire and fire people for organizations. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting that you think I'd be good at that.
Yeah, seriously, what does that mean?
But even prior to that, I remember telling somebody, one day I want to work in human resources. Actually, not prior to that, but just fast forward a little while later. I had told somebody, I really want to work in human resources, and I want to work at ATK, which is now Northrop Grumman. And so I had just kind of this. I imagined what it would be to work in human resources, and having that profession, and what my life would be like, the people that I would meet, the people that I'd work with, and so I kind of proclaimed that. I put that out there without really any context around it, other than somebody one day had told me I'd be good in human resources. Well, so fast forward 4 years, I've got this degree, and I'm like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next. And I was over at the business college over on the main campus, and it was the only one in the lobby of the building, and there was one job description posted in this little glass casing. I was waiting for the elevator, and I just walked over and I read the job posting, and it was for an internship in HR at ATK. And I was like,
That was meant for you.
yeah, I think I'll go ahead and apply to that, even though there's nothing in this job description that would really, tell me that I'm a good match. Anyway, so I applied for the job, interviewed, got the job as an intern. So I was literally probably the oldest intern on the planet. Because by the time I finished my degree, I was 34 years old. Anyway, so I went and interviewed for the job, and they hired me as an intern. And then 3 months later, they hired me full time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And now 12 years later, I'm working in human resources. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think the lesson there is that if you have an inkling that you might be interested in something, pursue it.
Yeah.
I think that our brains come up with a lot of false thoughts that it's like, well, I don't have this background, or I don't know this yet, or I don't even know how I would make this thing happen for me. But if you have even an inkling that you're interested in something, pursue it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you put things out there that it's like, oh, I'm interested in this. You proclaim that you want to do something. Magical things happen, and the stars aligned, and you get opportunities to explore that thing that you've proclaimed you're interested in.
Yeah. And then even it might not work out how yours did exactly.
Right.
You might not see a job just for you in a glass casing, but something will. You're going to learn something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome.
So was there any specific class or professor that was like memorable for
Yes.
you, like that just made a huge impact on you?
Two.
Two.
Yes. So the first one would be my math teacher. So I had tried and failed at taking college algebra multiple times at Weber State, and it's nothing to do with that school. It's a wonderful school. It was just me. Anyway, so I get into my college math class again. I was taking a class. I don't know if she still teaches at USU, but she was a professor that taught at the Brigham City campus, and I think she knew that she was working with students who were not mathematically inclined. I really believe that. And so she adapted her teaching style to the variety of students that she had in her class. She was a wonderful teacher, and her teaching methods were just what I needed to finally pass that class. There's one thing I want to tell you is, so I had made a decision that I was going to pass that class once and for all, and I put the work in. I got up, I did the problems every morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning before work.
Man.
Late after work, I did the problems, I did the work to pass the class. Her teaching methods were just what I needed. I remember one of the first exams that we took, I walked into class and sat down, and she's like, well, the highest score in the class was a 97, and the rest of you just did okay. And I was like, I wonder who that person was, Never in my wildest idea did I think that it would be me, and it was actually me.
Oh, wow.
That had gotten the highest score in the class. So now I'm never going to be able to teach math, but it was just such a confidence boost, and it was so important for me to have her as a professor and her teaching and methods. So, and I had that experience time and time again at the Brigham City campus, where the student or the teachers, the professors knew that they were working with, not always, but a lot of non-traditional students, that their learning curve, their learning style was going to be very different than a traditional student that was coming right out of college, and who maybe had been prepared for college.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's a really good important thing to note, though, is that you put in the work,
Oh, absolutely.
because a lot of students and people in general, I think, can be like, well, I wasn't good at it. It didn't work for me. But with all the resources we have, we want every student to be successful,
Yes.
we have tutoring, we have great professors, and if people are willing to put in the work, I think they'll get results too. Some might have to put in more than others, but it's really good not to give yourself the excuse of I'm just dumb or I'm just not motivated or something like.
Right.
Yeah.
Be willing to fail. Be willing to do B work if that's all you can do. I'm all about striving for excellence, but this idea that you have to go into a class and knock it out of the park with every assignment you have or every test that you take is nonsense. Part of learning is failing and then being able to go, well, this is why it didn't work this time. This is what I've learned from that failure. And I really went into most of my classes with that mindset. So
That's awesome.
Well, I think if it was too easy, it's more rewarding because it was tough.
it was tough. It was hard.
But when you graduate, you get that degree. It's like this huge sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And so it is completely worth it.
There was one other professor. Her name's Jeannie Johnson, and I think she's still over.
I loved her.
Yes.
I had her. Yes.
Her class just opened my mind up. I took a humanities class from her, and her teaching style is just out of this world. She's such a great teacher. And I learned so much from that class. I wanted to take every class I possibly could from her, and
She was great.
that's why I have a minor in political science, is because of her teaching style and her ability to just pique my interest in things that I didn't even know existed, a world that I didn't even know existed. Just had a really great experience, and her class was it was broadcast, so it was a satellite class, but still just as effective as sitting in the classroom with her. I did take a few classes over on the main campus from her, but the satellite classes were just as effective and impactful to me as the brick and mortar class. So
We were probably close in years that we took that class from her.
maybe.
I remember it was, I was in her class when 9/11 happened
Okay.
that day, that morning.
Yeah.
And so the whole discussion was class.
Oh,
what was
wow.
going on.
That's
But
cool.
I will never forget her class,
Yeah.
especially for that. But she was a great teacher. She's a great
She
teacher.
is so good.
I don't know if she's still there or not, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Shout
would
out to
recommend
Jeannie
her.
Johnson, though.
That's right. She's great.
So I think almost number one on people's minds when they think going back to college is how will I pay for it?
Yeah.
So would you feel comfortable sharing how you paid for college or what worked for you or what
Yeah.
you would do different or
Sure.
just your experience?
Sure. So it for sure was the one thing that just kept me churning and indecision of whether or not I would go back to school, and how would I possibly pay for it. So I did a combination of things. I worked and kept waiting tables while I was in school. So that worked for a little while, and I worked at night while I took my day classes, or vice versa. I had an 11-year-old daughter at the time, and she would come to the computer lab with me, and so I would spend my time with her in that learning environment
Oh, wow.
when I was not in class or at work. Because as a working mother, I think that's another consideration. Is it's like I'm taking so much time away from my kids, so I always try to utilize my study time to be with my children or to be with my daughter and to learn with her.
Oh, that's a good tip.
I also took out some student loans, and so that was obviously anxiety producing. Nobody wants to have debt when they come out of school, but it wasn't an option for me. I needed to do that. And then I also had the really, really wonderful opportunity to serve on the student government in Brigham City. And so, that was a little bit of help with my tuition as well. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to serve and to learn and to be just introduced to, again, something that I'd never been exposed to. Student body presidency, academia at a different level, serving in the community. So it was a combination of those three things. And then I was fortunate enough to be married, and my husband was working, and so that also obviously supported my financial needs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I just feel like I just went to school for a little bit.
Yeah.
I just feel like I learned a lot from you. Hopefully
Me too.
other people in this situation can too.
Yeah. Go Aggies.
Yeah. Okay. Should we show our tacos?
See. Oh, yeah. Let's show our tacos.
Okay. Here are, let's see, carnitas tacos. What is that? Pork?
Pulled pork.
And carne asada. I just feel like you can't go wrong with carne asada. Okay. Bye, Kristen. Bye, Toni.
Bye.
See ya.